It's going to be a very, very intense journey.
Hello, Internet, and welcome to episode 67 of Frameskip, a video game and video game adjacent podcast. I am your host this week. My name is George. Some call me George Cam Newton Loftus. Some might not call me that starting week one. It's hard to say. It's a tight race between Cam Newton and Mac Jones. I know there's a lot of Patriots fans who listen to this podcast. It's basically a football podcast as well, especially when Elijah's here. It's a ton of fun. And it's an honorary Cowboys podcast when Coach is here. But neither Elijah nor Coach, not even Seth, is here. Today, I got my number one wingman, Austin. Austin, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good, George. But I was just going to say, it'd be phenomenal if you opened that podcast that way and you just said, my number one wingman, myself. That would be the biggest plot twist of all time. I was
so confused because I was like, oh, I'm a host, so I'm not a member of the podcast. So I almost said flying solo because I really wasn't paying attention while I was talking. I went into a blackout fugue state where I was just pulling words that I thought made sense in that particular order.
Yeah. No, I'm doing pretty good though, George.
Hosting's weird. You talk all the time, but you don't really talk for people. You talk to people, but we're trying to facilitate a conversation between the two of us for the entertainment of others, which is a strange notion, right?
It is. It's weird to talk to each other for the purpose of potentially entertaining others. But I will say, a lot of the time, when we do this, I have fun doing it. Obviously, I think it's a on our part, I think it's a blast to just kind of sit down and talk to each other as friends, and hopefully we're entertaining for the people that listen.
God, I hope so. I don't really have a lot of people I can talk to about this kind of stuff in my life.
Yeah.
I got friends I text with about video games, and occasionally we'll get together to play stuff.
Right.
But they care about, random things. They're just oh yeah, the new Call of Duty's out, so I'll talk to you in 2 months. I'm like, okay, cool. But it's no one's super as interested in the industry, the goings on, the creative side of it, of studio heads moving to a different studio, licenseship changes. No one cares about that stuff.
Right.
And I like getting dorky. So
no, I do too. That's some of my favorite stuff, honestly. For the same reason, because I don't really have many people to talk to talk about that stuff with.
Yeah.
So.
Also, it's a pandemic, and it turns out it's really hard to make friends in your 30s.
That's true.
Yeah, it sucks.
That's true.
It sucks.
Yeah.
You better make a lot of friends in your teens and your 20s, because it's slim pickings once you hit 30.
And God forbid, like you said, a worldwide pandemic erases any chance for you to get out and meet people.
Yeah, God, I haven't played Friday Night Magic in forever. It sucks. Anyways, we're going to talk about video games today, but first, I think we want to talk about everything but video games. How's that for just hitting you in the face with a truth slap? Austin, I think we both want to talk about the same thing first.
Sure. Yes,
why don't you say what it is, so I know we're on the same page?
It's the Spider-Man No Way Home trailer that just came out.
Oh my goodness.
Technically was yesterday at the time of recording this, so Monday night. Yeah,
it leaked earlier this week as sort of found footage. It didn't even look like it was recorded on a smartphone. It looked like it was recorded on a flip phone, like a Motorola Razr, which was the premier flagship phone for Motorola. And then all of a sudden iPhone's what if you could see things on your phone? Yeah. And then Motorola was what do we do? Also, okay, so I forgot which podcast I was on. I'm on a Gundam podcast, and I can swear on my Gundam podcast. I apologize.
It's okay. You were talking about that sick Motorola Razr.
It's a Razr, which was then supplanted by the Crazer, the even smaller Razr.
Oh man, I forgot. This is crazy.
Yeah, super fun, right? And then the Sliver, right? SLVR.
I remember that.
The non-flip phone Motorola. God, good times. So it looked incredibly bad footage. I didn't even bother. I saw one screenshot of it. I'm I'm not going to watch this. Yeah. And then Sony and Marvel were screw it. Let's just release a trailer. They dropped it last night. Are you excited? I'm oddly excited.
Oh man, I'm so excited for this movie. And I know I think I'm the Coach might be up there with me, but I think I'm I don't know. I don't want to speak for you, George, but I think maybe I'm the one that's still the most excited about the MCU, moving forward of all of us, of all five of us.
I'm getting a little fatigued. Yeah.
Yeah. And see, I'm not there. And so, I guess it's maybe a different opinion, but I'm excited for Shang-Chi and Eternals, and I enjoyed Black Black Widow rather for what it was. But this movie, of everything coming out, this is the one that I'm like super freaking pumped for. And just kind of seeing this trailer and the callbacks we're getting, I mean, it's awesome.
Between this show and Loki, I'm really excited for where the MCU is going. My fatigue with the MCU honestly has nothing to do with the movies. Like, I think the movies are fine. I think they lack personality because they're trying to be like self-contained, like in the same universe. I feel like we talked about this before. I don't know if it's in the chat or if it's on the actual show. But like, you compare Black Widow to something like James Gunn's Suicide Squad, and like, opinions vary on the Suicide Squad that just released on HBO Max and in theaters, but like, I feel like they actually just like took some swings in that movie, and I feel like I just haven't seen a lot of risk taking besides like scale and scope in MCU, which is like super commendable, and I like that all the movies feel like they happen in the same place. But man, it's just with this Spider-Man trailer, it feels like, I don't know, man, like I feel like we could get an Age of Apocalypse movie, like a real one, where it's like Wolverine is Weapon X, where he's like missing a hand, and like, Xavier dies in the big, like 10 years before Apocalypse, like all this stuff where I'm just like, it feels like everything's on the table now, which is super exciting. And the callbacks that were in the trailer, I am incredibly excited for. I think that one character is still one of my favorite like movie villains, and like yes. I think just such a great. It was the first time I ever cared about that character between comics and between cartoons and video games and stuff. It was the first time I was very sympathetic to that particular character.
Yeah, I mean it's exciting for me too. Like as far as like you said, I think you're right. Like they don't take too many risks, but I think for sure the stuff that we've seen with Loki and what we're seeing now with this, and then hopefully as well with Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. Like I'm hoping that stuff kind of like. I think the interesting thing is here at this point, maybe we've already seen some of this stuff in comics, but like I don't feel like we've ever really seen like a multiverse type thing ever done in film. And to the point that, over the past 10 and even now going back to the old Sam Raimi Spider-Man films, I mean, the past 20 years almost, we're tying all those properties together and taking what we know from that. And now they're like, okay, because you've watched movies, MCU or Marvel movies for the past 20 years, you're now in a place where you can experience this multiverse and see all these different crazy things and understand and kind of compare and contrast how that all works compared to, the movies you've seen over the past 20 years. And so I think that is an interesting can of worms that they're about to open. Mm-hmm. At the same time, though, I will say the whole self-contained thing kind of worries me a little bit, like moving forward, because God forbid somebody wants to get into Marvel movies at this point, like that hasn't been into them.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, well, it's interesting because like when I say like my bigger problem with the MCU besides like tone and all that, so like I can forgive that. I've seen all these movies in theaters multiple times. Like Black Widow is the first MCU movie I didn't see in theaters just because I have no interest in being in a crowded room right now. It's what it does to the comics that pisses me off. Like that's why I'm like kind of sick of the MCU. Because it's like anytime a new movie comes out, a book is canceled and relaunched for like a new creative team trying to like get people who just saw the movie to buy issue number one, because issue number one's like really sell. And I just don't understand how like we went, I don't know, like almost 50 years with like the same volume of X-Men. And then in the last like 10 years, there's been like 6 different reboots of like the main flagship X-Men title. Like that's just like frustrating to me. I personally need to do so much research to figure out like what the actual reading order is. I'm like, this used to be a lot less complicated. Like it's just like the business ramifications on the publishing line in response to the movies. Like that's my biggest problem with the MCU is like they're screwing up my cool thing that I like to do.
Right.
And I feel like it's in service of no one really, because comics are all about a perpetual state of the illusion of change, not actual change.
Right.
And so it's like you're just rebooting this just to tell the same story you could have told without rebooting this. So why are you why are you doing this? And just like, oh, cool. Oh, it's an $8 issue one. Oh, that's interesting. Cool. Like it's just stuff like that. But I'm excited for the possibilities. I think you're totally right. And like, I don't know if it's like, like if someone going to like have to look up on Wikipedia to be like, can I see this without seeing the other ones?
Right.
Which That's crazy. Like it's so weird to me because like the MCU has been there since I was like 18 years old. Like I remember
Right.
like my senior year of high school, like desperately winning a tennis match as quickly as I could so we could leave and like go see Iron Man 1 in theaters like an hour away. Or I'm just like, yeah, well, of course I've seen all them. And I'm like, oh man, there's like an 8-year-old out there who just has no idea what's going on,
Yeah.
but sees this trailer and is like, that looks cool. But also they're 8 years old. So I don't think they really care.
I know.
I think they just want to see lights and noise, you know?
Yeah, and I guess that's a different situation. I mean, maybe it's hard for me to like say whether or not it's hard to get into at this point because I am so ingrained in it, but maybe other people don't care about like the intricacies quite as much. I don't know. But yeah, I think moving forward, I could potentially see that being the MCU's biggest problem is just I mean, not that the stories are you can't understand them. It's just a lot of content to slog through. I mean, you look at even Shang-Chi, and not that you have to watch Iron Man 3, but it's like, okay, we go watch Shang-Chi and like it's calling back some to Iron Man 3 and like things that happened in that movie, which like isn't even necessarily the same franchise. And
For sure, but I don't know. Like, it feels like, yeah, picking up like a 6-issue comic book story at like issue 4. I bought my friend, the comic book store near me in Maine closed down, unfortunately, but there's a Walmart and like they've been bundling Marvel comics. And like just like once a month, I'll go and like get the itch and just buy like a bunch of like these bundles. I have no idea what's in the bundle. I can see the top issue, I can't see the other two. And I got a friend who's super into the Alien series. And so I bought one for him because Alien was on the top. And then the other books in the bundle were like Spider-Woman #4 and War of the Realms #6, which like War of the Realms is like a big, giant company-wide crossover. And I think he got issue 6 of either a 7 or 8 issue series. And he's like, wow, that book was wild. I'm like, wait, you just read that? Like, they like mention someone who's rumored to be in Thor Love and Thunder. And he's like, yeah, I think I understand who this character is. I'm like, one, there's just no way you do. There's just absolutely, like, they mention him in a line. No, you don't understand what this character did to the Marvel universe. But two, like, he didn't seem to mind jumping in, you know, in the middle of the story. So I thought that was interesting just from like a conversational standpoint. But, you know, yeah, like Spider-Man 3 is coming out soon, right? Away from Home, is that what it's called?
No Way Home.
No Way Home.
Yeah.
And so it's like, oh yeah, like, oh, they really heavily reference Far From Home. And then it's like, okay, then I'll just go back and watch that. It's like, well, actually, that's kind of a direct response to, not Infinity War, Endgame. It's like, well, an Endgame is kind of a direct response to Infinity War. And well, I guess like Infinity War, all this. And it's like, well, then like Spider-Man 1, which was like kind of a direct result of Civil War. So like, I don't understand like where you can like comfortably be like, dude, just jump in. You know?
I know. Well, and see, now we're getting into the territory with this where it's like, Andy's never seen the Sam Raimi films. And so I was like, well, now we have to watch them. Because it's like, I mean, clearly, like, that's something you're going to need to know. And then two, it looks like you're going to have to watch the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movies too. So that's
underrated, underrated movies, by the way.
No, I agree. I agree. I actually like both those films.
I do too.
So, but anyway, it's just it's so convoluted, you know.
And it's so weird because it's just like it's going back to such like a different period of Marvel movies. You know, like the Sam Raimi, just the fact that they existed at all felt like a miracle to like 10-year-old me, 11-year-old me. I couldn't believe we were seeing that.
Yeah.
And then to have them like so well produced, to have them just like so big budget and just like so visually interesting, like given the technology at the time, I think is really impressive. But they were so self-contained, and like Spider-Man only saw Spider-Man villains and, you know, his supporting cast of characters. But like to go from that to like, I don't know, Spider-Man's having a conversation with Stephen Strange and like Wong is like going on vacation, be like, don't do that on his way out. And it's just like, I wonder who else we're going to see.
Yeah.
And I think you and I were talking about it earlier where it's like, yeah, I guess like an animated Miles Morales could show up from Spider-Verse. I kind of hope he doesn't, you know, because then he just becomes like the Peter Porker Spider-Ham of the MCU, right? Where it's just like, oh, hey, this person who doesn't fit in this world. All right, I think that's enough. You and I are both very excited. We're both intrigued by the possibilities of where the MCU could go from now on. And Kevin Feige said that there's no plans for an Avengers 5 on the table right now.
Yeah, I'm not too surprised by that. I
think they're just going to let everyone cook in their own little corners for a little bit, which is good.
Well, and if you think about it, I mean, I guess it wasn't that long originally, because I think Iron Man was 2008, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or was it 2009? I think it was 2008. And then Avengers was 2012,
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken. So I guess that was about 4 years
Mm.
between like the start of that phase and end of that phase. But to me, it looks like this phase, from what I can tell, is that they're kind of setting up Fantastic Four as like the big movie at the end, which is kind of interesting because I don't know if you ever saw it, but they did a teaser right before Black Widow came out. It kind of went through the movies that were coming out this phase. It showed like just the logo for like Thor: Love and Thunder and Ant-Man 3 and stuff like that. And then at the very end, it was like phase 4, but the 4 was like very clearly like the Fantastic Four logo.
Mhm.
So I wonder if instead of kind of focusing on Avengers this phase, they're kind of, just showing these characters now that they have the Fox properties, showing these characters that, they're really trying to dig into before we get to the next Avengers or whatever big crossover it's going to be.
And that's interesting because the villain hinted at the end of Loki is very much both a Fantastic Four and an Avengers villain.
Right.
And heck, even ties to Young Avengers, which have you read that yet? Did you?
Oh yeah,
I know.
No,
I put
read
a gun
all
to
that
your,
stuff.
I know I put a gun to your head and told you to read them, but I wasn't.
No,
sure
I
if
read
you actually
everything.
did.
I read
Okay.
I read that. I read the House of M, obviously prior to that, and then I
Mhm.
read Avengers. What is it? Children's Crusade. That's after
Yeah.
Young Avengers. Read all of them. So
Awesome. All right.
Yeah,
So you are ready to rock.
yes,
Cool.
yes, I am.
All right. I'm sure we're going to be talking about this on Twitter, so hit us up on Twitter with your thoughts. We will give our handles at the end of the episode. That is called a tease, just to keep you listening until we get to the most interesting part of the podcast, us talking about our social media
Yes,
handles.
the best part.
Is there anything else you want to talk about before we jump into games? I got a couple random things.
Shoot them, because I can't think of anything
Cool.
off my head.
Like I said, the comic book store near me closed. I've been spending a lot of money on eBay on comics. I'm trying to complete like my 90s Batman collection, and I'm just trying to grab as many Amazing Spider-Man books as I can, because like I have everything from like 450 to current. So I'm trying to like go back in and fill in as much as I can there. But there's some books that I've been reading on Hoopla, which is like a free to use reading service on tablets and phones. I think you can even use it on desktop, but all you need to use it as a library card. It has been one of my favorite resources during the pandemic because you just have a library account, you link it, and you can get X amount of free borrows a month. And they have an extensive comic book library. I've been reading Grant Morrison's Animal Man run, which was like a really big sort of, I guess, Gen X title, like in the late 80s, early 90s. And it is just incredible stuff. Grant Morrison and I think Kelly Truog and Doug Hazelwood, just mind-bending comics that just deal with metaphysics and reality and destruction and creation. Really, really interesting stuff that I cannot recommend enough. And it's like 26 issues, so you're not in for like a long time, but you're in for a good time. And besides that, I've had the itchiest little bug nipping at the back of my neck, Austin, and it has been telling me to buy more classic Marvel Legends Build-A-Figures toys.
Nice.
So growing up in like 2005, 2006, they started including these giant pieces in Marvel Legends figures that you could combine to build even bigger figures. I have the Galactus from back then. I have the Sentinel from back then. Those are two prides and joys in my toy collection. And I've recently bought all the pieces needed to make Apocalypse.
Nice.
And so my final piece is like the Astonishing X-Men Wolverine that'll be arriving next week. And then I will take pictures. I will share them with the group. We will share them with our frame skip, with our title show podcast. I'm so excited to assemble that bad boy.
I remember seeing those when I was a kid, and I was never much of a figure person, just because my parents didn't really, want to buy me figures, I guess. But I had a decent amount of Transformers, and so that was kind of my thing when I was a kid. But no, I always remember seeing those Marvel figures, and I was so growing up, Galactus was like just the coolest thing to me because I loved Fantastic Four. That was always kind of my favorite comic series when I was a kid, and so I very clearly, very, very clearly remember seeing those figures with the Galactus pieces and just wanting those so bad. And that was like the coolest thing. Do they still do those at all? Like
they do, but the figures are so much smaller now. Like it's basically just built, like if it takes 6 figures to like do a Build-A-Figure, it's basically just making a 7th figure in the line. And so a whole bunch of them have been discounted recently, and some of them haven't. So I bought like just because I've been loving the new like John Hickman led X-Men books. So I bought all the figures from that line just because I genuinely love that series. I'm a little pissed at Marvel again because apparently he was like, okay, I'm ready to move into Act 2, and everyone who was like underneath him writing, they're like, we're still having so much fun in Act 1, and he was just like, all right. Let me know when you're done. And he just like left Marvel like without completing his story because everyone in like editorial was like, no, we're really happy with where we are. He's like, okay, but this is part 1 of like a bigger story. And they're like, yeah, that's neat. We'll get there someday. And I'm like, okay, you're letting like your best writer in the last 15 years just walk. All right, whatever, that's fine. Screw you. So I canceled all my X-Men books, except for like the main series X-Men because like I've got a lot of them, so I want to keep it going. But that's so frustrating. But I bought those Marvel Legends based off like Powers of X and House of X and all that stuff, and that builds like a really cool Sentinel figure. But it's not like the big Sentinel; it's just like a tiny little, slightly bigger than the other figure Sentinel. And then actually a whole bunch of figures from the Avengers game actually let you build Joe Fixit, who's like basically if Hulk were like a 1930s gangster, which is like one of the skins you can unlock for Hulk in the game.
I think I've seen that.
Yeah, so it's been actually fun collecting those, and it's really fun going on eBay and like just trying to like win and like underbid stuff. And so like I grabbed a whole bunch of figures I needed for like $12. I'm like, these are normally $22. I'm amazing at this. And then I like don't check shipping. I'm like, this is exactly $22. Like I'm an idiot. So that's pretty much everything in my life that's been non-gaming lately is Animal Man and Marvel Legends collecting and just cover gallery perusing and work, of course, which we're starting to transition into nerdier stuff, which I'm really excited. I can't wait to talk about what I'm working on.
That's awesome.
We'll get there someday.
That's awesome. Yeah, I want to get back into some sort of figure collecting, but the problem is when I do it, I go overboard. Which
the problem is the problem is you like
right there.
Yeah, the problem is that you like Monster Hunter, and those aren't like $20 action figures. Those are like $120 statues, right? Like,
they suck you in. So I have a couple that are about 100 each, but they do a lot of these, which nobody listening can see this, by the way. But there's some around here that are basically like the size of amiibos. They're called Monster Hunter. What is it? Figure builders, I think is the name of them. But you have to import them from Japan.
So with shipping, that comes out to a lot,
right? But the other way they work is that they're like blind boxes. So
yeah. So it's just total like Gashapon style where
so you either buy each one individually and just hope you're getting it right, or you buy all 6 of them in a single pack, which it's like you when you buy the whole pack, you're guaranteed to get all of them, basically.
Right.
But by doing that, they're sucking you in because you're paying $70 for this whole pack, which, there might be a couple you don't care about. And so anyway, that's my long spiel on why I have tried to stop collecting figures is because I spent too much money on them.
It just sucks. Like I'm so in love with like so many different things, and so it's just like I don't know. Anytime I see like a really good like Star Wars Black Series figure, I'm like, well, I got to start collecting these, and I'm like, okay, no, George, rein it in, buddy. Like you got to chill. And then I see like Marvel Legends, and like I unfortunately like bit the bug, but I'm like, I haven't bought Magic cards in a long time. Like this is okay. Like that money's got to go somewhere. No one's gonna live forever. Might as like have fun while you're here.
Right.
And it's been really fun collecting toys again, but it's so hard. Like the only toy store near me is Walmart, and every time I go, it just looks like the first episode of like Walking Dead. Like everything is just completely picked over. There's like 2 figures in the entire aisle, and it's like, well, this is really depressing.
Now I will say, if you ever, which hopefully you'll come down here for our wedding next year, but there is a retro game store near us, and they do have a lot of figures, which is really cool. They have like kind of the figures that people sell to them, and it's just like an entire wall of like used figures in like plastic bags.
Awesome.
And so one day I'm going to go there and just pick through it and find stuff I like. But figure collecting is tough for sure.
It is tough. Also, God, I went to Hasbro.com earlier just to see if there was like any stuff like there that wasn't in stock elsewhere, and they're making the most beautiful Galactus figure of all time. And
is it that like $400 one?
Yeah, it's 32 inches tall, and I'm like, oh, that's pretty big. That sounds cool and hefty. And then like I kept scrolling, I'm like, $400? Like, are you kidding me?
Well, did you see recently the auto transforming Optimus Prime,
Yeah,
which is also like obnoxiously
yeah,
expensive?
and like it looks really cool, but like it also looks like bulky. Like let's not pretend that's the same thing as like a real Optimus Prime toy, right?
Right. Right.
Oh god, it looks awesome, but it's like I mean, the fun part was transforming it. Like,
Yes.
and now you're
Not like
taking
pressing the button
yeah, and
and
you're taking that
watching it.
away from me and charging me $300 to do it. Like, all right, that's a choice.
Yeah.
Ugh, 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 toys are too expensive. I don't know
Yes,
how
they are.
I don't have kids, but like I don't know how kids have toys now. Like it just like I'll go and like I don't see a lot of like $10 figures, you know.
Well, and I was listening, I think it was the Comedy Button I was listening to, and they were talking about how nowadays most of the toys that are made by Hasbro or whatever it is, people our age go out and buy them. And they're like hard to get no matter what. And so, like, what do kids do? Like, I didn't even think about that.
I found out about so many toys not by seeing them in the store, but by like accidentally pressing Facebook Marketplace and just like
Yeah,
seeing like a black figure series for sale. And
right.
so it's like everyone is like scalping everything right now. Like it's not just video game consoles, it is
Right.
toys, it is Magic the Gathering cards, it is Yu-Gi-Oh cards, it is Vanguard, it's this new card game called Flesh and Blood. Like it's just so much nerd stuff. Like the only thing that seems to be safe from it is not even video game consoles, but just like video games themselves because
Right.
of digital distribution that is keeping them in check. And I kind of want to do like a futurist podcast where we talk about our own little utopias. Um, but like, man, I just want to be able to like buy a 3D printer and like eventually be able to just like buy the license to a toy, like a single use print, and then like print a Han Solo action figure or something, just so
Yeah.
I'd never have to like go to a toy store ever again and just be disappointed by the complete lack of inventory there, you know?
But like I said, I mean, it's like, yeah, it's sad for us, but like, I just can't imagine being a kid in this day and age where everything is kind of the toys, at least a lot of these like higher end toys are marketed towards the adults.
Yeah, they're
And
basically just like posable statues at this point,
yeah,
right? And yeah, and all dedicated toy stores have like seemingly closed. You know, like, there's no KB, there's no Toys R Us, there's no
right.
FAO Schwartz anymore. Like, and so it's convenient that it's like, okay, we can buy toys at Walmart, but like it
Right.
sucks because you can only buy toys at Walmart and Target, and like they're usually
Yeah.
picked clean by 25-year-olds looking to make $10 on a $25 toy they bought. You know,
Yeah. It's a sad situation.
it is. Yeah. All right. Well, that's enough of depressing action figure adult men talking. Unless there's anything else you want to add before we move on.
No,
All
I don't
right.
think so.
Well, it's just the two of us. We're going to do something we don't normally do. We're going to talk about video games we've been playing. We're going to talk about them for a long time. So let's start with the one that you and I have both been playing. I want you to kick things off. Tell me about your time with Art of Rally.
Okay, so I can't talk about this one too much because I've only
Okay.
played I've only played like a few minutes of it. I
Okay.
kind of booted it up and drove around. So
Well, I feel
I
bad for
think
putting you on the spot now. I
yeah,
apologize.
I thought you were going to go somewhere else with that, but that's okay. Yeah, so Art of Rally just came out, and I'd really been looking forward to it. Did you know about this game prior to its release,
I did
George?
not until
Okay.
I was swiping through Game Pass and it was just a new edition. And I generally really like racing games.
Yeah.
So I usually download each one just to try it out.
Well, and I forget where I saw it. I don't know if this is on Switch, but I want to say I might have seen it in like an Indie Direct, or maybe it was in some Xbox event thing months
Mhm.
ago. I don't know, but it just seemed like something kind of neat. It's a racing game, but it's kind of like trying to think what to compare it to. Honestly, it's like kind of a like bird's eye view camera, and
Yeah, it feels almost like it's called Art of Rally. And so I'm going to sound really dumb when I say this, but like, do you remember those like arcade tracks where like it was all about how quickly you accelerated the car, and like if you
yes,
went too fast on
yeah,
turns, it would like fly off. Like it
flip
almost
over.
looks
Yeah,
like that. And
it's a good comparison.
it's kind of like a twin stick driver almost,
Yeah,
I guess. Like it feels like the prettiest NES game you've ever played.
right. And it's cool. It controls really well. The cars like control really well, and like I said, I haven't done any races or anything, so I really can't say too much more than what I'm saying right now. But um,
Oh,
just kind of
you've just done like the free roam?
yeah, I've just like
Okay.
driven around and that's it. And so, but I like the way it plays and it looks cool. I'm excited to dig into it more. And this is going to be a recurring theme tonight for me. It's free on Game Pass.
Yeah.
day one. And
I got some free on Game Pass games to talk about. It's funny that you've only done free roam because I've only done races. And so I was talking with my buddy Fabio earlier. He's been on the show before, back when Elijah and I did our like big PS5 sort of like blowout. He came on because he managed to get a PS5 as well. And he is just like the person I like most consistently play video games with, just because we both keep just absolutely awful hours. And he'd only done free roam. I was like, yeah, this game's really cool, but like it's so hard. And he's like, what are you talking about? Like, what do you mean it's hard? And he's like, oh, I haven't done a single race yet. I'm like, oh, I haven't done a single free roam yet. And so I assume that free roam is just like really relaxing because like my Fabio, I'm gonna call him my Fabio, not my friend Fabio. My Fabio, he would just be like, yeah, I just got into a certain state of mind and just enjoyed myself. Yeah. Just running around listening to music. I'm like, oh, that's interesting because I like white knuckled my hands into the point where I couldn't feel some of my fingers because these races are brutally difficult. But like, man, when you finally do it, like it's that same old adage that everyone talks about with like Dark Souls, where it's like when you finally get it, it feels amazing. And like I think that's like the laziest thing ever. But also when you finally get it, it's amazing. So I'm enjoying my time with Art Rally. Also, it's just a gorgeous game.
It is.
Really,
what are you
really
playing
great
it on, George?
I'm playing it on my Xbox One, my Xbox One S.
Nice. Yeah, I don't think there are any like upgrades or anything for Series X or anything like that. So it's definitely a pretty game. The art style is really cool.
Art style is gorgeous. Also, it's super small file size. So if you have even a little bit of room on your Xbox or Switch, I recommend downloading it and giving it a try. And as Austin said, it is free on Game Pass.
It is.
All right. Have you both been playing another game? I sent you my list earlier.
I think so. I thought, but maybe I was thinking of somebody else.
All right. Hit me with what you think the game is.
Hades? Have you been playing Hades?
I bought Hades. I've installed Hades. I have not played. I have not played it yet.
So that's what I was thinking of.
All right.
Well, can I talk about Hades, George?
Oh, please! I'm so excited.
Okay. Man, this game freaking rocks.
Yeah.
Like seriously, it is just a darn good game. And I haven't really played a good indie game in a while. Like I kind of dropped off indie games for a while there, just because I was like focusing on the bigger titles coming out that I was really looking forward to. And so that's why I didn't get into this one when it came out. I was kind of holding off on it. But again, free on Game Pass, day one on Series X and Xbox One. I've played probably 3 hours so far. And I just got to the second, I guess, I don't know what the word is, second world or realm.
Dungeon area.
Yeah. So I've only beat a single boss so far. And it took me, I'd say probably 8 or 9 runs probably to get through that first boss. So it really was not like crazy challenging. It's just a matter of like getting the right items and making sure you have the right weapon that feels best for you, and kind of understanding the systems more. And once I got that stuff down, it started to kind of make more sense for me, and I really started to get the groove. And actually, I think when I beat that boss, and then in that same run, I got all the way to the second boss, like all in the same run for that first time. And so I think that kind of shows like how, once you start understanding, you can really, your progression really rolls. And
awesome.
Of course, the second boss just wiped me out.
Sure.
Destroyed. Yeah. So that's where I'm at right now.
Okay.
But the story is really, really cool. I'm like a sucker for Greek mythology. And so kind of seeing the way some of these characters are portrayed and the interactions they have. The art is awesome. And the soundtrack is really good too.
Yeah, actually, I saw like the soundtrack was solicited for vinyl, which is I'm like, oh, it's like that good that they're pressing. Okay, yeah, that's
it cool. Is. It's really good.
It blows my mind. I want to say something. I don't want to sound like I'm dunking on a person. It's just so wild to me that like this is like a game made by others, but among the people who made it is Greg Kasavin, who like worked at GameSpot forever. And like I loved reading his reviews, but he was like one of the forefronts to like do video reviews at GameSpot once they like transitioned to that. And like the guy's like a genius. Like obviously, just the way he understands games and the way he's able to make games because of his keen understanding of games.
Right.
But the dude just did like the driest, most dull video reviews like I've ever heard in my entire life. And I would just sit there and I'd be like, I'd watch like the first 30 seconds, just like get gameplay. And I'm like, okay, cool. I know what the game looks like. And then I would just immediately X out of the video because like the dude was like human NyQuil. Like it would just like put me to sleep because he was just like that. Like I felt like I was in a lecture back in college for a class I didn't sign up for, you know, but I was just like there to like support someone. Yeah. And then I would just like immediately go into reading it. And I just can't believe that like, hey, I'm going to do this for a while at GameSpot. And then I'm going to do Transistor. And then I'm going to do Pyre. And then I'm going to do Hades. And it's just like, they're on like an incredible run. Like if a director of movies was able to make like this many consistently good things in a row, like it would be insane, right? You know?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, I mean, even going back to Bastion too. I mean, Bastion is a fantastic game.
Thank you. I completely forgot that was like their first one, right?
Yeah. And actually, this is sad, but that's the only other game of theirs I've played. I have not played Transistor or Pyre, and so makes me want to go back.
Do you happen to own Transistor?
I do. Yeah.
Would you like to make a commitment to play a little Transistor in time for next week?
Yeah, sure. I'll do it. Because I think I got it through PlayStation Plus, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and like I played it the week it came out, and then I stopped because I was very distracted. I just started school at that point, so I was like a little busy, and I was also just very drunk because I just started school at that point. And so like my only free time was on the weekends, and I was like, well, I can't play video games on the weekends. I need to drink and smoke weed to make up for all the work I did during the week. That's the only time for games.
No, yeah. No, I'll play some.
I will play more of that, and I'll also play Hades.
Please,
that's a promise.
And I think the thing that's telling for me is I really usually do not like roguelike games at all because I find them pretty repetitive, and a lot of the time they're just not very rewarding to me.
Yeah, and also I feel like if you're not good on the first run, you're like down on yourself, and also like you're just ready to be not good on succeeding runs.
Which is why I didn't buy Returnal. Like I've heard good stuff about it, and I'm sure it's a good game. I just don't think that game is necessarily for me. But something about Hades, the way it plays, and kind of the fast-paced nature of it. I mean, I think my understanding is you can do a whole run in like 30 or 40 minutes if you're really good enough. And so I think that's why I like it. You know, you're not playing for 3 hours and then you die and you go all the way back to the start. It's very fast paced and it's very rewarding in that sense.
Yeah, Returnal took some swings, all right.
So just seriously, if you have Game Pass or if you have, I mean, it's on everything at this point. It's on PS4, PS5, Xbox, Switch, PC. Just play Hades. Seriously, I do think that all that hype last year, all those Game of the Year awards, I think they were accurate.
All right, very cool. And it's free on Game Pass.
It is.
All right. Well, I'm going to keep this trend going. Speaking of free on Game Pass, I played 12 minutes and I played it for like 3 hours.
This is the one I've been waiting to hear from you.
12 minutes is pretty wild. It's an incredibly well acted game. Like it's James McAvoy, Daisy Ridley, and Willem Dafoe. And it starts with you like coming home one night and just trying to have like a normal night with your wife, little Daisy Ridley, little Rey Skywalker herself. And then all of a sudden a cop knocks on the door. It's Willem Dafoe and arrests your wife and kills you. And then I'm not spoiling anything. That's literally the first 3 minutes of the game. I guess I spoiled the first 3 minutes of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How could you?
Yeah. Woo. Anyway, report me on Twitter as appropriately. And then it's just like you wake up, you're like, your character literally goes, "What the F?" and is trying so hard to like piece together what's happening. And then the game very quickly becomes about you trying to like find faster ways to convince your wife what's about to happen and that you're right, as ridiculous as it sounds. And so it very quickly becomes like a puzzle game. And I think it's really interesting. And like I said, incredibly well acted, incredibly well written. It's just so cool hearing Willem Dafoe in a game. And like you can't really interact with him too much, like your first couple runs. I think what's frustrating about the game is playing it because the entire game is like such an awkward like overhead view of the room you're in. Like it just feels like it lacks like a little bit of warmth, like it's a little cold and detached. And it's just awkward because it looks like you're just looking at a blueprint of like your apartment. And then like little tiny figures that you can't really tell what they are. Like you know what they are. Like it's Daisy Ridley, it's you, it's random objects you can interact with. But it just like it looks so jarring and awkward. And I think like a lack of warmth is probably like the best way to say it. Just because like even if they were like to lower that view angle even like 15%, it would feel and like you were like looking at it like a diorama as opposed to just like a floor plan. I think that would go a long way. But like finding the shortcuts to like convince who you need to convince to do what you need to do, because you only have like a few minutes basically before Willem Dafoe shows up, so you need to act very very quickly. You have like very curt objectives that you need to do and accomplish before he shows up. Incredibly interesting. I really recommend downloading, especially because it is free on Game Pass.
Now, I will say, George, just as a warning, and hopefully I'm not like souring your further kind of opinion on the game, but everything I've seen has said that the ending is like you want to like bleach your eyes after because it's just obnoxiously bad. Cool. So I'm hoping
can't wait to get there.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you'll have a differing opinion, but every single person I've seen that's beaten the game has said that like it's terrible. So that's what I was curious to see if you had gotten to that point.
I haven't gotten there yet. I'm sure I'll be very angry on next week's episode.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I'm just happy that like a game like this exists. Like, it's cool that it's like such a well-produced weird thing. You know,
Yeah.
like the fact that James McAvoy, Willem Dafoe, and Daisy Ridley are attached to it is like pretty fascinating. It has that problem with like Mass Effect. You know, when you like select a line of dialogue and it would just be read completely different than like what was written on the screen. That's happened a couple times where it's just like, ask her about the watch. And then he just goes, what the F is the deal with your watch? I'm like, that is not what I thought I was doing, you know? Just stuff like that.
Dude. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Like you're scaring, especially because like, you know, things that the wife doesn't know, you know, on like succeeding runs.
Right.
And so it's like, bro, like, you know, things like pump the brakes a little bit in how you're handling this. But also it's like, I'm stuck in a time loop. I'm trying to save you. Like, I get it at the same time, you know, from like a narrative standpoint, but damn guy.
I do think I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna, because I think I have it downloaded actually. Again, like you said, free Game Pass game.
Yeah, you know, you should download it because it's a free on Game Pass game.
Yeah.
We're also, man, PlayStation Plus really needs to fold PlayStation Now into it already.
I know. Well, because like this past few weeks has really made me just realize how much like I'm going to appreciate Game Pass like this fall, like in a time period where I'm really, really trying to save money. You know, this past almost 2 months, you know, I haven't purchased a game since I think it was Monster Hunter Stories 2.
Oh.
And that was like July 5th or something. And so that's like very long for me to like not have purchased a game. And it's like, because of Game Pass.
I've bought like 5 games since then.
Yeah,
that's pretty amazing.
And normally I would, but like I said, like trying to save money for the wedding and stuff. Yeah. But just Game Pass has like really saved me during that time frame. Because I don't know, I feel like sometimes I have like gaming ADD where I'm like playing something and I'm like, I want to play something else. I want to play something new. And Game Pass, you know, gives you new games every month, and you have stuff to look forward to. And so,
what's really important with Game Pass too is it makes me play games I would never have considered ever.
Right.
I downloaded a game, I can't remember what it's called, but I was like, you know, falling asleep last night. I checked my hard drive on my Xbox One just to see how much space I had left. And then I saw a game with like a really interesting art style, and I can't remember if it's called Genesis Noir or Neon Noir, like just some weird like adventure game. And like, I don't like adventure games at all. But like the line art in the game, it just had like this neon hue to it. I'm like, all right, this like at least looks cool. Like I'll mess around with this for 20 minutes if I don't like beat the whole thing, because it just looks so compelling and interesting to me. I feel like PlayStation 5 sold so well on the success of PlayStation 4. Like there was just like a ubiquity amongst PlayStation 4 where it was just like, oh, this is clearly the better console. Clearly the PlayStation 5 will be the better console. And
Right.
I can't get an Xbox Series X or even a Series S now. And I feel like that's selling so well strictly on the success and reputation of Game Pass. You know,
The
because there's
Series
like
X,
there's
yeah,
no other continuity to the last generation.
right. I mean, to me, the Series X has me hooked right now, and I mean, I have both. I have a PS5, which is what I bought first. Had that for about 6 months prior to the Series X, and I mean, ever since getting the Series X, it's just to me. I mean, it's honestly Game Pass. Like, it's not even necessarily like the hardware. It's just the fact that I can, look at that subscription, not have to buy anything, and just have so many games at my fingertips.
Yeah.
And it's just such a cool thing. And like you said, I mean, PlayStation does have that. They do have PlayStation Now. It's just, as we talked about last week, I think it was, they just don't, I mean, they don't acknowledge it. Like, they don't really show people that it exists.
It's so weird, man. They've got like Xbox Game Pass has like a little over 100 games, right?
Yeah.
They have like almost 400 on PlayStation Now.
Yeah.
Like what? Like why aren't you shouting that from the rooftops? If I had that, I like would never shut up about it. And I do
Right.
have it, and I never shut up about it because I'm like, no, this is a great deal. You guys just need to
Right.
make it easier to integrate or like more integrated into your current environment. All right. Anything else you play that you want to talk about? I got a couple more.
I got a couple more. I played Quake,
Oh,
the
the
Quake
remaster.
remaster. Yes.
Oh my god, yeah! I was actually gonna buy that as soon as we finish podcasting.
Well, guess what, George? It's on Game Pass.
Oh my god, I want trophies though. It looks incredible. How's she? How's she
It's
running?
awesome. It's awesome. And I played so much of this game when I was a kid, back on a floppy disk, using a floppy disk. And so that was, I think, the first PC shooter I had played when I was like 5 or 6 years old.
Mhm.
And just going back to it is such a nostalgia trip. And I will say, I mean, it's a little hard for me to get used to the controller still. Like, a game like that, I feel like still is best on keyboard and mouse, but I'm getting used to it on the Xbox controller, and it's a gorgeous game. Really, really well done remaster. I mean, Bethesda did stuff pretty similar with the Doom games, and they all look really good as well on current gen systems with their remasters. But I'm like, it's just so much fun to go back to a game like that, and a shooter where you can just kind of walk around and explore and find these hidden rooms and buttons and whatever they may be, and
Mhm.
just shoot people and like not really have to worry about a story, and it's just a good jump in, jump out game. It's awesome. It's a good time.
Very cool. I know when they were remastering Dooms, they actually had like a special remaster of Doom 64.
Right.
I've never played the original Quake. I've only played Quake 64. Do you know if like that's in the pipeline, or is this? Because I thought I saw something that
So
like on Switch, it's the 64 version that's been remastered, but I don't know like the actual specifics about it. Because I didn't know about this until this morning. Like I just saw something on news.google.com and I was just like, oh no way. Like,
let me look quick, because I did hear something too about the N64 version, and I played Quake 1, and that's the only Quake game I ever played on PC. So I didn't know too much about Quake 64. So I'm not exactly sure how that works. Are they two different games? Is that how it is, like
it
on
was at
with
least
Doom?
with Doom, it was a kind of different game. Well, they just had to like cut so many corners, just like fit it on a cart, you know.
Okay. Okay, so yeah, I mean, I guess from what I can tell, it's just the original Quake, like
That's
the
fine.
PC
That's fine.
version.
I would love to play it for the first time. And I mean, I watched the trailer like 3 different times today. I just thought it looked awesome.
Yeah, and something this is cool too. The Machine Games, the people that made Wolfenstein, the new
Mhm.
Wolfenstein games, they made an expansion for this remaster,
Oh,
and
really?
it's like a brand new expansion in Quake that they put in this remaster,
That's
which is
awesome.
awesome.
I didn't play the new Doom games, but I did play the new Wolfenstein games, and like just in the original or the original reboot Wolfenstein, like the fact that like when you like went to sleep in the game, you'd like have a dream that you were in like the original
Yeah,
Wolfenstein. That was just like such a cool touch. That was so smart and like just such a welcome addition to this brand new gorgeous
right.
HD game, you know.
Yeah. So no, Quake. Awesome. And again, another game that like I probably would have waited to be on sale, but it's on Game Pass day one.
Mm-hmm.
And I downloaded it for free and played it and enjoyed it. So I'm looking forward to jumping more into that. And it has co-op, by the way. So
Oh, interesting. Wink.
yeah.
Wink. Very cool. All right, I guess it's my turn to talk about a game.
This is a fun week. I like
this.
this.
It is a fun week. Thank God.
Because I never play this many games.
Yeah, thank God we don't have Elijah and Coach and Steph just slowing us down with all the riffraff they play. Oh, Final Fantasy 14.
What have you been playing, Coach? Nothing.
Yeah. Pokemon Crystal. It's like, whoa, all right. I actually do kind of want to hear about that. But God, just the fact that it's like a different year in his head. It's pretty amazing. I love hearing what he's up to because it's so random. Where it's just like, so I realized I needed to play that Pokemon Stadium game. I'm like, okay, why though? Missy Coach, come home to us. Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut.
Nice.
I caved. I bought it for PlayStation 5, and I love this game. I forgot how much I love this game. I know it was my game of the year for like our end of 2020 podcast. God, it just feels so good to be back. And this is my first time playing it on I couldn't I played on my base PS4 the first time. And so playing it on PlayStation 5, playing it on a 4K HDR TV, it's the prettiest thing I've ever seen. It's incredible.
It's a gorgeous game. Absolutely gorgeous game.
Yeah, and it was gorgeous on the original console. I couldn't believe how much better it looked here, So it takes you to, I think it's called Ichi Island, which is just like a small island off the coast of Tsushima. And it's about like a new tribe of Mongolians who have moved in, and they brought their shamans, and they're doing some weird magic stuff that Jin is not kosher with. So it's about him trying to get to the island. Immediately, my heart is broken, and then you're on this quest that's just very distressing. They introduce so many cool new mechanics, so many new cool collectibles. They bring back some old favorites. You remember like the old like bamboo like sword mastery things where you had to do like
I love those things.
Yeah, like a mini rhythm game basically. Like they bring that back, but like for archery. It's just really cool. It's just taking everything great about the game and just like giving you more to do, which is exactly what I wanted. And now that I have the game, we can totally do like the raids if you're into that, because I never got to mess around with those.
I want to do it so bad. Yeah. We've got to set up a time.
And I'm like, even considering, because there's a trophy for New Game Plus, I'm like, well, it's been a while since I played the game. I haven't beaten this game in like a year. I might have to check it out again. So I'm considering that too. It's just, It's so nice to be back, and it looks great on PS5.
So have you done much of the expansion stuff yet? How is that?
I have literally done the first quest line. I had friends staying with me last week, and they had never seen this game. They're Xbox gamers, like going back to like the year 2000, basically.
Right.
2001, whenever it came out. And so they're like, oh yeah, we've never owned a PlayStation. Like, what's this like? And I just like showed them like, well, this is like the big new exclusive. And I showed them, and like their minds were just like blown. I think they're convinced to get a PlayStation 5 to like catch up on PlayStation 4 and everything they missed from the last generation, and then eventually get a Series X down the road.
Right.
Oh man. So I'm excited to dive back into it. I've gotten some more games, so I'm going to be a little distracted, but I don't think it takes too long to beat Ichi Island. I'm excited to do all the tales and do all that stuff, and I will find the time. I'm not doing anything this weekend, Austin. I'm not doing jack. I'm staying on my couch. I might do some fantasy football homework and revise my tier list, but besides that, it's just going to be games and pizza and games.
Yeah. I mean, as far as games that I'll buy soon, it'll probably be that and the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. Those are like the next two that I'm like just kind of waiting for a price drop or just the right moment for me to buy. But I love Tsushima, and I played it late last year, early this year. I think I started it last December on my PS4 Pro, and then I was still playing when I bought my PS5. So it was like this awesome moment where I was only like halfway through the game, and then I started it up on my PS5 and continued, and just seeing that upgrade was awesome. So I can't even imagine how it looks now, because that was just like a unlocked frame rate patch. Like they didn't really touch the textures or anything. So
I will say that games need to do a better job of easing you back into them. Because I was just like looking for like basic stuff, and I like couldn't figure out like, because I remember like you had to change your stances if you're fighting a berserker or a heavy or a shield guy, and I was just like, okay, but how do I do that? And I couldn't find it in like the game, like in the menus, and I like actually had to like look it up on YouTube, being like, how do you do this? And so it was
Right.
a real like, you're an old man, idiot George moment. But they really need like, hey, I see you haven't played this game in a couple months. Would you like a refresher? Like, absolutely, please.
Right.
And like, I know Nintendo got so much flack for like when Skyward Sword first came out on Wii, and like when Twilight Princess came out on Wii, because it would just have like a line art version of the Wiimote on the
Wiimote.
side that was just constantly like reminding you what the buttons were. And like, I get it. It shouldn't be there. There should be an option to turn it off, but also should be an option to turn it on for like 30 seconds. You know, like,
just have it turn on when you haven't played the game in a while, for sure. Yeah.
Exactly. All right,
Well, I have one more actually.
Okay, I've got 3 more, and one I don't even need to talk about that long. So
okay, yeah, this is like, again, this is a crazy week for me. It's been a long time since I've played this many games in a single week, but it's been one of those weeks where, again, I mean, half of what I played was through Game Pass, and so it was kind of like hey, let's try this, let's try this, let's try this, and so it's been fun, kind of doing that and just kind of being carefree as far as like. I think sometimes I feel like obligated to continue playing a game that I've purchased or whatever it may be, like financially. It's like, okay, I just bought the $60 game and I'm not playing it. What's wrong with me?
Yeah, got to commit to it. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of fun. It's been kind of fun this past week.
I mean, full games are like the new demos now, you know, like that's on Game Pass. It's pretty wild.
Seriously. But again, this is not a Game Pass game, but this is a free to play game. And this is my last one this week, but I downloaded and I finally tried out Pokemon Unite, which is the MOBA game that just released on the Switch, I think, last month. And so
MOBA basketball game. You gotta be a little more accurate. Yeah.
MOBA basketball.
So MOBA basketball. Yeah.
I hate MOBA games, but I think that's mostly because my main experience with a MOBA was League of Legends, where that community is like just the scum of the earth, like in a single video game. And so I think that's why I hate it. Not so much that I didn't like the gameplay. And so after a couple hours with this game, I'm really enjoying it. And again, I think it's because there's not really a chat. So you don't have people shouting and like, doing, racist remarks constantly or whatever it may be.
Yeah, Nintendo, low-key great call. Not having voice chat on the Switch.
Yeah, this is the one game where I'll actually say I'm kind of glad there's no chat. But you still have what you need. You can, I think, press minus or the down button on the D-pad or something, and it brings up a little like auto chat thing, and you can say, okay, I'm going to the top lane, or I'm going to the bottom lane, or somebody come help me, or, just basic stuff like that you would need still. And so you still have a way to communicate. It's just, it gets rid of that just horrible, just community that I experienced in League of Legends. And it's awesome though. I'm really enjoying it. Andie and I played a bit the other night for the first time together. It was pretty fun just playing together and just playing as a team and beating up some fellow Pokemon.
Very
cool.
A couple questions for you, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
One, how many people are on a team?
I think it's 5v5, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
That actually seems kind of impressive for like Nintendo architecture, because I feel like they usually try to simplify stuff, right? Okay, that's super cool. How's the spread of Pokemon, like from all the different generations? Is it good?
So it's pretty good. That would be my biggest complaint. And if you've seen League of Legends or similar free to play games, you would know that like a lot of it is very like purchase based. So that's my biggest complaint. Is, again, it is a free to play game. So you start out with a few Pokemon. I mean, you have like, I think the ones I have right now are Charmander. I think I have Pikachu. I just got Bulbasaur. Trying to think of who else I have. I have like an Alolan Ninetales.
Oh, super cool.
You get like a range of Pokemon. And so I'd say it's pretty spread out. It's just, my problem is like, if you want to get Gengar or Garchomp, those are like $10 purchases. So unless you
Yeah.
like play a ton of the game,
And I guess
obviously.
that's like kind of par for the course, unfortunately. Like, how many characters come in
Right.
Street Fighter, and then
Right.
each additional character is like $10. That's a little disappointing. One
Yeah.
thing that was super exciting about Nintendo entering like different spaces was like how they'd innovate in those spaces.
Right.
Between like Pokemon Go, Super Mario Rush, was that the mobile game they did?
Super Mario Run.
Super Mario
Yeah.
Run, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I got Mario Golf on the mind. And so that's a little disappointing that like this one seems like a little monetization heavy, but it seems like you can also just play the game for free pretty comfortably.
Yeah, I mean, I had read some reports about it being pay to win, and I looked into it more after starting to play the game because I had seen just the headlines saying, "Oh yeah, the game's pay to win." But from what I can tell, I think they fixed it, and secondly, it just doesn't really seem like it's a problem at all anymore. But yeah, I mean, I haven't spent any real money, and I think every match I've played so far, I've won. So
Do you
I
think
don't
it's like
know.
Fortnite where they set up like the first match for you to win?
It
It's
might
just like
be.
you against bots. Yeah.
It's possible. So I need to play more. I've probably only played a couple hours, but it's really good. I mean, it's free, so I think it's worth trying. And they just announced the other day the mobile version. I think comes out sometime in the next couple months, and it's crossplay, so you can actually, if somebody's on mobile and you're on Switch, you can play together, which is pretty neat.
That's awesome. All right. I might play it when it comes to mobile. It's just I feel I don't want to say like I want to say this. I don't want to sound like I'm dunking on you. I'm not. But it's like when I sit down with my Switch and like I can play like Zelda on it, I feel like a bad person for not playing Zelda on it. Like the Vita walked so the Switch could run. So it's like you better play AAA big RPG single player experiences on it. But man, if it's on mobile, that's totally different. Like I could be down to do that. I wonder if it's crossplay and all that. That'd be cool.
Yeah,
That's
it's crossplay from my understanding. I think anybody between Switch and mobile can play together.
oh, that's awesome. That's super cool.
Yeah.
All right. I got 2 games I'm going to talk about very quick. Actually, no, these last 3 games, I'm going to talk about all of them very quickly. I played more Splitgate. That is like my new favorite game to just like. I have a podcast I really like called The Rewatchables. It drops either Monday or Tuesday. And then like whenever a new episode comes out, I'm like, all right, I want to go play Splitgate for the next 90 minutes while I listen to this podcast. It is my new favorite podcast game to play. It's criminal how much they ripped off Halo. And I'm finally getting to the point. I think leveling is going very, very slow. Like I feel like I got to level 10 very quickly, which opens up more different match types, game modes. But I'm still only in like the casual tier. I can't play like ranked matches until I hit level 20. And remember last week or the week before how I said I'm a god at this game? Yeah,
Yes.
Everyone else has caught up to me. I'm no longer god tier. I am pretty good tier. I'm like decent and a half tier. I can like
Right.
hold my own tier, but I'm no longer like just running circles around everyone, unfortunately. But still super, super fun. Gears of War 3. I am halfway
Nice.
through that with my buddy Fabio. We have never played through Gears together. We try to play through Halo as often as we possibly can. And it's really fun doing Gears 3. Gears 3 is so good. I still think I like Gears 2 more.
Absolutely.
Just because it's
Yeah.
such a weird game.
Gears 2, Coach and I are on the same page as you there too. I mean, because Coach and I played them all together, all of them except for 5 we haven't done yet, which I still want to because I've heard so many good
That's
things.
why, because I never played 5 either. So like
Yeah.
Fabi and I are playing Gears 1, 2, and 3 together. We're gonna do 4. I beat 4. Loved 4. 4 was
Right,
awesome.
4 was awesome.
And we're doing this so we can get to Gears 5. And we're hoping to do it
Nice.
fast enough so we can do this and then do all of Halo before Infinite comes out.
Nice. No, but yeah, when Coach and I played them all, or at least 1 through 4, 2 I think we both agreed was our favorite. So I just love 2 is so good, but 3 is good too. 3 is a good game.
It's so much prettier than 2. Like 2 used a lot of blacks, a lot of browns. a lot of navies and stuff. And like this one, it's just like because of like the lambent, everything's like neon yellow and like that
Right.
looks awesome. The upscaling they do for 360 games is like incredible on Xbox One.
I haven't tried it on Series X yet, and so now I'm curious. And I didn't try it on my One X either because I knew
you haven't played like a 360 game?
no, not
Okay.
on the One X or on the Series X. So I'm curious to try that.
Check out Gears of War 3. I'll try to take a screenshot on my end, and we'll try to share that both in our group and from the Frameskip Twitter account. Man, God, it's so pretty. Like it looks so good. Like I was always bummed that they didn't remaster 2 and 3 the way they did 1. But like looking at 2 and 3, I'm like, oh no, like these look pretty good. Like this is functionally the same thing as a remaster. And I love how easy it is. Like you just press the select and the start button, and then it's like pressing like the center button on the original 360. Like it brings up like the blade menu, and it's just it's so cool. Final game I've played this week, just because I've always heard great things about LucasArts games that weren't Star Wars, but I haven't really played many of them. I checked out a game called Armed and Dangerous, which to my knowledge, if it wasn't an original Xbox exclusive, it was like just a PC and Xbox exclusive. It's a third-person shooting game that takes place in like a weird kind of cyberpunk era. And it's fine. Like some of the effects are like really impressive, especially for the time, but like just the characters are like so funny and so well realized. And they just like they don't explain anything, which like I really enjoy. There's like, a little pirate, a little like mole man, like little person who's like clearly never seen the sun ever. And then there's just like a giant robot dressed like a Roman centurion. And they're like, they just don't care at all to explain to you why this group of people came together. But like, they're just like in the situation where like a bad guy is doing bad things and it's up to them to like fix it. And I just love the confidence in that storytelling. And it's incredibly funny. Again, the gameplay itself is whatever.
Right.
It's fine enough. It's functional, but it's also like a short game. So that's like my new, I don't know what to play game. Like you're on Netflix for like 20 minutes. And you're like, screw it. I want to watch this thing I've already seen 100 times. Like it feels like the new catch-all for when I don't know what else to play.
Right.
Besides,
it's good to have a good game like that. It's good to have a good game like that. I for a while there for me, it was Mario Kart 8 on the Switch. I would just jump back into that game and race a few matches online and have some fun. And now I think it's actually transitioned to Forza Horizon 4 as my new just what junk food do I want to eat tonight? I can't think of anything else to play.
I don't know. It sounds like it's going to be Hades for the next week or so.
Yeah, I know. That and Transistor.
Oh yeah, we got it. We've committed to audio contracts, so we have to now.
I know.
All right, Austin. Any closing thoughts, comments, concerns, questions?
Game Pass rocks. Go play Hades. That's all I have to say, I think.
Yeah, sounds. I mean, it works for me. Yeah, I'm gonna make that mine too. Thank you so much for listening to episode 67 of Frameskip. You can find us on the podcatcher that you listen to us on. It would be doing us a huge service if you enjoyed this show. Please share it with your friends. Please, dear God, share it with your friends. We're available on so many different platforms, right, Austin? Like
like the whole internet.
We are the internet, believe it or not. But please, we are just dorky people who love talking about dorky things, and we would love some dorky company to keep as we discuss them. So please write into us at bit.ly/frameskipq if you have any questions, comments, or concerns. That's bit.ly/frameskipq. You can reach us at the Frameskip Twitter account that is at frameskippod. You can reach Austin at Austin J. Eller on Twitter. You can reach the people who are not here. You can reach Seth Slakehouse at Seth the 90s Kid, but please do him a favor. Reach out to him. Don't follow him. You can reach Elijah, Ladies Man Steel at Loco Lizard Man. And you can reach Coach at Frameskip Pod. He we share. It's like a WeWork, but for Twitter. It's great.
Yeah, we are all in the same pants.
Yes, it's so much cuter than it sounds.
Yes.
And you can reach me at GB Loftus on Twitter. Talk to me about Magic the Gathering. Talk to me about Marvel Legends. Send us pictures of your collection. I will. I will start posting from my personal Twitter account, and then we'll get Frameskip to reshare those, to retweet those, just to start a dorky conversation going. Because I don't think we've really, except when Seth went to Disney World and talked about like the loot he got, I don't think we've really talked about toys too much on this podcast, have we?
No, not really. I need to go to my parents and get my Transformers. I want to do that.
I would personally love to see that collection, because I think I had like the entire Armada line. And then anytime I see, because they've been doing like random Generation 1 reissues at Walmart, and like I managed to snag Soundwave. I managed to snag a Perceptor, like just like the most random possible ones. Like,
dude, I would
G1,
buy all those
favorite,
freaking things. I would buy all those freaking things if I knew that I would not get sucked into it. But I know the second I buy one of them, it's over.
Well, it's pretty cool. I guess I know what I'm getting you as a wedding present.
Hey, I'll take it.
Yeah, brand new cake toppers. Just
somebody say Devastator. What?
I was gonna say RC and Hot Rod on top of your wedding cake. But Thank you so much for listening to Frameskip. We will be back in your ear holes next week. Until then, have a wonderful weekend. Be excellent to each other, and ask us nerdy things. We like being nerdy. Talk to nerds. Be cool to nerds. Also, just be nice in general.
Yeah.
Be nice people.